Every society has to decide what they're going to produce, how they are going to produce it, and who gets the stuff after they produce it. Well, so what? What are we going to do? What are you going to do? We're going to make bicycles. We're going to make cars. We're going to make. Are we going to grow corn? Are we going to grow peas? I mean, just what are you going to do? What are we going to make? So those decisions have to be made. How? How are you going to do it? You're going to use labor. You're going to use capital. Or you're going to use a combination of both. If what combination? So, are you going to make soft drinks with corn syrup or sweeten it with sugar? Are you going to make cars out of steel or some other metal? So how are you going to do it? What are the inputs? You're going to have if you're digging a dam or digging a hole for a dam to make a dam, are you going to use people with shovels, or are you going to use tools like backhoes and big trucks? So how are you going to do it, and who gets it? Well, in a free capitalist society, those who produce the most get the most. Okay. In a more socialist society where people aren't really they don't have economic freedom, but everything's produced by the government. Government makes all these decisions, what, how, for whom. The attempt, at least, is to divide it up evenly, but as the old joke was for the Soviet Union, some people are more equal than others, as the well-connected ended up with a lot more. Well, a great story of government production and some of the inefficiencies, that's a trade-off. Oh, you can have government make all the decisions, or you can have the private sector make all the decisions. Those are the two extremes, capitalism being the private sector and markets, and socialism being government control. Going back to the Soviet Union, the glass factory was a great example. See, when you don't use markets, you don't know what is valued. That's the problem. You don't know what things are worth. The glass factory. Soviet Union would have 5-year plans, and they had so many plans. They would say, we're going to produce X amount of glass, but how do you specify X amount? Is it in pounds? Is it in square feet? I mean, what is it? So one year, they had the plans specified as a particular weight of glass. Now, the thing is, under socialism, the best chance to make it work is under force. You've got to have fear. Okay, you've got to incite fear, because the incentives to produce aren't necessarily there unless you threaten people to produce. So if you're a plant manager and you've got X amount of weight of glass, what's the incentive? Well, you want weight, we'll give you weight. See, you don't want to end up in Siberia, right? You don't want to end up in a prison camp in Siberia. So you're going to give them what they ordered. Well, that year, glass was so thick that you couldn't really see through it. Well, that's gave them the most weight, right? The goal was specified in weight, so the glass was thick. So they revised it to area. Okay, we want so much square, area of glass. Well, you can guess where the incentives were then. You want area, we'll give you lots of area. Lots of square footage or square meters. Lots of glass made that year broke because it was so thin. Okay, so you've got problems with that kind of production in systems like that, and which was the reason why the Soviet Union eventually went broke. The inefficiencies involved. Now Gorbachev came along and he wanted a kinder, more gentle Soviet Union, and They took away a lot of the fear and the force and that kind of thing. And so now the incentives are gone completely. So literally, there's not stuff on the shelves. They're not producing anything. So it collapsed. Nice little 70-year experience. And that's been typical of socialist economies, is that they what they really do well at is producing poverty. And so our economy, it's one of the wealthiest in the world. The reason it's so wealthy is because it utilizes incentives and private property and markets. So what we're going to look at is how markets work. Now, here, let me, let's... So what we're going to look at is supply and demand. That's the essence of a competitive market. And what I'm going to look at is the almighty Twinkie. Okay, nothing quite like them. So I'm going to put price here and quantity here. So let's say the price of a Twinkie is $9. How many Twinkies would I buy for $9? So let me think about that. If they were priced at $9, I would buy exactly 0 Twinkies. There's no way I'm paying $9 for a Twinkie, as much as I love Twinkies. But if the price came down to 7, maybe I'd buy 1. And this is per unit of time. Let's say 1 per week. Okay. At $5, well, I'd buy 3. Okay, as the price gets lower, my opportunity cost of buying a Twinkie gets lower. See, I don't have to give up as many other goods to buy a Twinkie. The price is 3, well, I'd buy 5. And if the price is 1, I'd buy 7. Okay, notice that there is an inverse relationship. Notice as the price comes down, my Twinkie consumption goes up. As the price goes up, Twinkie consumption goes down. There's that inverse relationship between price and quantity. And that we call the law of demand. It's not a natural law like gravity, but we observe it so often. Remember, one of the basic principles of economics is that people respond to incentives. And we see it all the time. When something goes on sale, when a department store has a sale, guess what? People go there and they buy more. We see it so often that we call it the law of demand. Okay, well the thing is, when we see numbers or columns of numbers, it's hard to really see what's going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to graph that. We're going to put price on this axis, quantity on this axis, and we'll put the good up here. That'll, well, as we go along, it lets us remember what good we're talking about, and when we're talking about more than one good, that comes in handy. We sometimes can get mixed up. So we're going to put the numbers price 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, so let's graph this. Well, when the price is 9, quantity is 0. So that'd be right there. When the price is 7, quantity is 1. So, well, let me get a little pointer here. Right there, okay, where they intersect. All right, well, that would be right about there. And when the price is 5, quantity is 3, right about there. And 5 and 3 right there. And when the price is 1, it's quantity 7, about right there. Okay, connect the dots, and that is what we call the demand curve. And now it's easy to see. A picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So we can see the inverse relationship. At a high price, quantity demanded is low. At a low price, quantity demanded is high. There we go. Downward sloping, inverse relationship, the law of demand in a picture, the demand curve. Okay, now we're going to look at the supply curve. See, what we're looking at is how prices are determined. See, I had a hypothetical demand schedule and a demand curve of what I would buy at various prices, but we haven't seen anything about how prices are determined. It's like a blade of scissors. You know, which blade makes the cut, the upper blade or the lower blade? Well, you need both of them. So we've talked about one blade of the scissors, demand. The other one is supply. So let's see. Let's put in here price and quantity again. If the price of Twinkies, if you could sell Twinkies on the market for $1, let's say. I'm a potential Twinkie producer, right? I can mix some dough together, I guess, and sugar and cream, and I can make a Twinkie. If I can get $1 for the Twinkies, how many Twinkies am I going to be willing to produce? I would be willing to produce exactly 0 for $1. It's not worth my time. See, I'm in there on my lazy boy clicking through the channels, watching the game and watching the movies, and I'm not going to take my valuable time away to make Twinkies when I could be sitting in, not for $1. But you know what? If I could get $3 for Twinkie, if that's what the going price is, yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe during the commercials, maybe during halftime, I can run into the kitchen and I'll whip up some dough and whatever and stick them in the oven, and I can rush right back and I haven't really missed anything. If the price is 5, you know what? I may have to miss a couple of my favorite shows, but you know what? I'm willing to do it if I can get 5. My opportunity cost keeps getting higher because now I'm starting to have to miss some of my favorite shows, maybe even a game that I really want to see. But for $5, I'm being compensated for that cost. I'll do it for 5. If I can get 7, now I've got my garage full of ovens. Maybe I've hired some neighborhood kids, and I'm going like crazy pumping out those Twinkies. 5 of them. This could be in pounds, tons of pounds, whatever. And if the price is 9, you know what? I quit my day job. I've got a factory or a bakery downtown. I'm running 3 shifts. I've got things really cranking out if the price is 9. Now, notice that as the price goes up, I'm willing to produce more Twinkies. Quantity supplied goes up. As the price goes down, quantity demanded goes down. Quantity supplied goes down. Well, we observe this. That's how markets work. Incentives, right? When there are strong incentives to produce, people enter those fields. Now, let's say this is the labor market, and a particular field is paying a lot of money right now. Let's say engineering. Engineering is just paying lots of money. The price, the salary you're getting is high. Guess what? At colleges and universities around the country, guess what happens? more people major in engineering. You've got math majors thinking, change their major to engineering. So we see this sort of thing all the time. And if the price goes down, if there's an oversupply of a particular field, let's say, okay, everybody's majoring in engineering now, and now there's not as many, that shortage, or I better use that term carefully, as we're going to talk about that in a minute. But when a lot of demand for engineers subsides because the supply has been met, they're not going to have to pay as much to get people into engineering, right? So the salary kind of softens up. Guess what? Not as many people are going to major in it now. So that's a great example of how the markets work. Well, anyway, let's graph this thing, because that's what we want to do. We want a picture. Pictures, again, 1,000 words. Here we are. Price, quantity. This is the Twinkie supply. Here we're still talking about Twinkies. And let's see, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, when the price was $1, I would be willing to produce exactly 0 Twinkies. When the price was $3, I'd willing to produce 1. Let's see, here we go. When the price is $5, I'd be willing to produce 3, right there. 7 and 5, right there. 9 and 7, right about there. Connect the dots, and we have the supply curve. And now we see a positive relationship between price and quantity. The higher the price, the higher the quantity. Lower the price, lower the quantity. So, and again, we call that law of supply, something we observe. Again, the incentives are there to produce more if the price commands it. So, now, that's the other blade of the scissors. So now we're going to put these together into one graph. Let's see, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 1, 3, 5. Okay, the demand curve was, let's see, 9 and 0. And 7 and 1. 5 and 3. 3 and 5, and 1 and 7. And the supply curve is 1 and 0, 3 and 1, 5 and 3, and 7 and 5, and 9 and 7. There we are, supply and demand. Let me get that, make a big dot there. And the magic spot, right here, this, where they intersect, that is equilibrium. That is where, well, let me write it down. That is write it slow so I can spell. Equilibrium is when quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. The market clears. Anybody who wants to pay $5 or is able to pay $5, willing and able, they're able to buy the product. Well, let me show you how powerful this equilibrium is. Think of it as a magnet that is a force. So let's look at this. To show you how this works, let's suppose for whatever reason, Doesn't matter what the reason is. Let's just say the price is down here at $1. It's $1. Okay. At $1, well, quantity supplied is 0 and quantity demanded is 7. Okay. We call that a shortage. We got 7 units demanded and we've got 0 produced. Okay, so when quantity demanded exceeds quantity supply, that is a shortage. Okay, so what's going to happen? Let's say firms are going to get that message. There are all these people wanting this thing, and it's currently not being produced. So they raise the price to 3, and they start producing. Okay. Now they've got quantity supplied as 1. And because of the price is higher, quantity demanded falls to 5. I forgot how to rail. There we go. The shortage is starting to go away. Now there's a shortage of how much? 5 is being demanded, 1 is being supplied, so there's a shortage of 4. Well, there's going to be, again, firms are going to get that message. Wait a minute, hey, this stuff's flying off the shelves. People love this stuff. Let's raise the price and produce more. So they raise the price to 5 and increase output to 3. Customers at a price of 5 reduce their demand, their quantity demanded, from 5 to 3, and bingo, the market clears. There we stop. So if the price is below equilibrium, there will be a powerful force that will raise that price up to equilibrium. And the market will adjust. More will be supplied, less will be demanded, until we hit this spot right here. Now, let's do that from the other side. Let's say that, well, the price is 9. Well, the price of 9, quantity supplied is, let me get rid of all this. Quantity supplied is 0, and quantity demanded 0, and quantity supplied is 7. So these this poor firm has 7 units on its shelves, and nobody's buying it. Okay, whoops, that's quantity demanded. So what are they going to do? They're going to say, whoa, this thing is overpriced, we've got to lower the price. So they lower the price to 7. And guess what? At 7, 1 unit will be demanded. And they cut supply. They lower the price and they cut supply to 5. So now quantity demanded is 1, quantity supplied is 5. We call this a surplus when there's more out there than people want. So here we've got a surplus, and they still have a surplus. The price has going down, and sure, they're selling more. They've cut production. Well, they've still got a surplus. They've still got more in inventory than they want, so they cut the price down to 5. And what happens at 5? Bingo. Quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. The market clears at 5, and we have no more surplus. We have no shortage. That's the power of equilibrium. Again, this equilibrium is a very powerful force. And if the price is higher than equilibrium, it will fall to equilibrium. Adjustments will be made and it'll fall to equilibrium. If the price is below equilibrium, again, a force will rise, the price will rise, the adjustments will be made until we grab that equilibrium where the market clears and quantity supplied equals quantity demanded.